So today we are going to continue talking about the skill related to reading, no? Teaching reading. So first of all, we are going to make a fast review about what we did in the last session, right? On the last session, we talked about some strategies and some activities that we are going to do in the three stages, that we have in a reading lesson. No? Remember that here we have pre-reading stage. Yeah, this is the first stage. Remember that we use this to activate the schemata. Then we had a while reading, and finally we have the post reading. So the last class we were talking about some aspects related to the pre-reading. So today we're going to make a feedback. Remember that we have three strategies in order to develop this stage. The three strategies, as you can see here, is the first one, establishing a reading purpose. So we have to identify why are we going to read, why our students are going to read a test. Then we have to activate and build the background knowledge, the schemata. And finally, we have to preview the test to build expectations. So according to this, we have in establishing a reading purpose. Here we have to match the content of the test and the student's familiarity with that content. So we have to create a connection, and we have to establish the purpose, not the teacher's purpose, for having students read a test. Then in the second, enables the student to establish their own expectations about what information they will find in the test and the way that the information will be organized. Then we have in the previewing. So this is like an introduction activity, all right? It will also review or introduce the relevant vocabulary for that topic. So notice here the three strategies that we are going to use in the pre-reading stage. Now we have seen, we saw this in the last session, right? The while reading stage, so here we have the teacher's job. This is what we are going to do today. We're going to analyze these two stages and also the activities that we can do on these stages. So here they help students to understand the specific content to perceive the rhetorical structure of the test. Here we have to guide our students that they have to assume an active questioning approach to the material. Then finally we have the third stage, that is the post-reading stage. So this is focusing to review, This is focused to review the lesson content. So here we are going to put students in groups or pair and verify their responses to the question or graphics, and then check the results with the entire class. So the exercises here could be focused on grammar points, vocabulary context, word roots, or discourse markers. And the last segment should be devoted to integrate the new information from the test with the students' know. So this is in general the three stages that we are going to develop in a reading lesson. All right. So as I told you before, in the previous class, in the previous session, we talked about some activities. At the end of the class, we talked about some activities that we could do during this stage, the pre-reading stage. Now, we have to continue with a second stage, that is the while reading activities in the classroom. So here, these activities, remember, help students to develop reading strategies, improve their control of the foreign language, and decode problematic text passages. So here we are going to apply a deep analysis of the text, right? So we are going to make our students develop some reading strategies, improve their control or knowledge of the language, and decode some problematic text passages. Then it helps the student to employ strategies, as we have seen in the first part, where reading can be difficult because individual students control and need different strategies, right? So here you have that they have different contents, different beliefs, different ways of learning. So that's why they are going to need different strategies. Then, nevertheless, the teacher can pinpoint valuable strategies, explain which strategies individuals most need to practice, and offer concrete exercises in the form of guided reading activity sheets. Here we're going to make our students to develop some exercises like a guided reading, and you can give this and you hand in this as activity sheets or worksheets, no, that we know. So such practice exercises might include, notice the kind of exercises that we could use here: guessing word meanings by using context clues. Now, so we are going to make our students guess the meaning of the word, not by looking up in a dictionary. So they must use the other words, the words around that word. So it means by using context. They have to use the context, no use the dictionary. All right. So that's why we are going to develop here in our students this kind of guessing, no, decodifying the meanings through the context. Then we have another exercise that could be word formation clues. Here we're going to make in our students, or we're going to give some exercises to our students in order to make up words. No? How do we make up words? How do we form words? Here says, and this is related to the morphology aspect, no, of the language. Then we have here the cognate practice. Cognate, remember, no, as you can remember, cognate are words, not the cognates are words which are similar from one language to another language. This is a cognate. For example, in our language, we say no, radio, televisión, doctor, but we have similar words in English. No, radio is radio, televisión, television, doctor, doctor. So notice that we have these similar words. You change in some cases some letters and sometimes just the pronunciation. No? As you can see here, doctor, doctor. The difference is just on the stress. So they are words which are called cognates. So here on this stage, we are going to practice this, the cognates, no, in order to make a similitude, no, between the language. Now, the next exercise that we could find in this stage is considering syntax and sentence structure by noting the grammatical functions of unknown words. So remember, syntax is related to the sentence structure. So we are going to analyze the sentence structure. But how? Noting the grammatical functions of unknown words. So we have to analyze, we are going to make our students analyze if the word is a verb, a noun, no? And what is the function of each word inside a sentence. No? So this is another exercise that we are going to do in the while reading stage. Then you have another one that is analyzing reference words. So when we write something or when we read something, the author who writes something use some words which are related to another ones, no? In order not to repeat the same word all the time. So they are going to use some words in order to make reference to the other words. And so here we're going to analyze this, no? Some exercises in order to analyze the reference words. The other one could be predicting test content. So here our students are going to predict what's the next on the next part of the story, maybe, or the next episode of a story. So they are going to predict what would be the next part. No? So here predicting the text content. Then we have here to read for specific pieces of information, some parts of the test. So they are going to read just the parts of the test, not the pieces of information. And then we have here learning to use the dictionary effectively. No? Sometimes when they are going to use the dictionary, they use it just as a translator. No? But remember that we have to encourage our students to guess the meaning of word by using the context. But when it's necessary, They could use the dictionary, but remember that sometimes they don't use it in a good way. No, they just use the dictionary as a translator. No, they look up the translation of the word, and that's all. So remember, in a dictionary, we have a lot of information, not just a translation. If it is English Spanish, no, bilingual dictionary, also, you can find here the meaning if it is a bilingual, monolingual dictionary, no, the English. You can find also the pronunciation. You can find that type of word. You can find some expressions, collocations related to that word. So it's very important to make our students use the dictionary properly. All right? And we are going to develop some exercises to promote that, to encourage that, to trigger that. Then we have other exercises related to this stage. One of them is identify the topic sentence and the main idea of paragraphs. Remember, the topic sentence is the main idea in each paragraph. All right? So we are going to develop some exercises in order to make our students to find this main idea of each paragraph. And also the main idea here, remember the idea of the paragraph is the author message about a topic. Remember that every paragraph usually includes a topic sentence that identifies the main idea of the paragraph. So don't forget this. So we're going to use some exercises to encourage them, no? To make our students identify, recognize topic sentences. This is one of the exercises that we could do, one of the activities that we could do in the while reading stage. Remember the while reading stage. Another activity that we could do is to find general and specific ideas. So here you have to distinguish between the general and specific ideas. General ideas usually express the main point or main idea of a piece of writing, and the specific ideas provide evidence to further define the general or main idea and prove that it is valid. All right? So here it's so important to make our students to find not just the topic sentence, to find also the general and specific ideas that a piece of writing has. All right? Another activity, this is the third activity, is to identify the connectors. So they are going to identify the connectors to see how they link ideas within the test. There are many types of connectors. Here we have a lot of linking words. Now remember that the linking words are the conjunctions. We have a different kind of conjunctions, no? Subordinating conjunctions or coordinating conjunctions. No? So we are going to have a lot of words which serve us to connect, to link the ideas. No? So we're going to develop some exercises to do this, no? That they could identify the linkers, no? The connectors to join two ideas or three maybe. No? Now, activity number 4, confirm prediction. Here we have this activity, so they are going to check whether or not their predictions or guesses are right. No? So they are going to confirm what they did on the previous stage. No? Remember that in the pre-reading stage, they started making some predictions, no? According what they know, the knowledge of the world, no? The schemata, and they start to predict what the topic is going to be about, no? So in this stage they confirm what they predict, what they guess. This is something that can be done with a reading class. Might start with one of these pre-reading activities, remember. So we are going to make a relationship with the pre-reading activities. All right, now Let's continue with number 5. Here we have one of the major skills or sub skills that we have in reading, that is skimming. Skim a test for a specific information. Skimming is the ability to locate the main idea within a test. Using this reading strategy will help students to become proficiency readers. Remember, it's when you read a test quickly in order to locate or to find out the main idea of the test. That's why here says that they are going to be proficient readers. Skimming reading will also help students to be flexible reading. So because they are going to have different assumptions of the test, no? So they are going to adapt their strategies, their knowledge about this topic, no? About a topic that they are reading. The sixth activity is related to the kind of a meaning. No? Remember, when we read something, when we read a test, we have two kind of meanings: the literal and inferential. So we are going to answer literal and inferential questions. Literal simply refers to what the test says, and inferential is using the test as a starting point to get a deeper meaning. So we are going to analyze. Notice here in the inferential, we are going to analyze the test and we are going to get a conclusion, an analysis of the test. No? That's why he says that we are going to get a deeper meaning. In a literal, no. Not literal, so you just have to say what the test says. No? Just that. So here we have two activities here: literal and inferential. So as a teacher, we're going to give them some literal questions, and also we have to give them some inferential questions. Maybe the information is not explicit in the test, so they have to infer. No? They have to infer about this answer. All right. Now, the next part, the next activity, here again you have inferring. But now here we are going to do this activity consisting of inferring the meaning of new words using the context. Now in the other part was inferring some information. Now here you're going to infer, to deduce, to guess what would it be the word meaning, all right? But using the context, all right? Using the context, we are going to infer that meaning using the context, using the words around it. All right? All language learners rely on context to decipher the meaning of a word. A reading strategy used quite a lot when you do extensive reading. Now remember where we talk about this kind of reading, no? The extensive reading. Extensive reading means that we are going to read for pleasure. It's your option, all right? It's a free voluntary reading. This is the extensive reading. Remember, it's different from the intensive one, right? Intensive is more related to the analysis of the language. But here you have the extensive reading because you like, no? Because you want to learn something new. So when you read a test because you like or because you want to learn something new, you are not focused on um, you are not focused on knowing the meaning of all words, no? Or you are not with your dictionary. Oh yeah, I don't know this word. Yeah, so I have to look up in a dictionary. No, you just read and try to guess, no? Try to deduce, try to infer what the meaning is. All right. The other activity that we could do in class is related to coding test. In this activity, we are going to make the students' reading more personal, right? Because they are going to use some symbols in order to identify some ideas. Notice here, coding test involves teaching students a method of marking so they can place a question mark next to a statement they don't understand or an exclamation mark next to something that surprised them. So notice, they're gonna read the test and they are going to use some markers, in order to see if they understand, or maybe this information is new for them and it's surprising. All right. So if they don't understand something, maybe a word of the meaning of a passage of a paragraph, so they could write a question mark, maybe then they could ask to the teacher or to other partners to get it clear, right? And also, if they understand the message, they understand the meaning of the words, but they are surprised about it. So they could use a exclamation mark, an exclamation mark, because they are surprised. Notice doing this, the reading becomes more personal, right? Yeah, it's my reading, so I'm going to write or use some symbols according to the feelings, emotions that we are having, right? We don't know, a question mark. If we're surprised, an exclamation mark. So notice that the reading becomes more personal. And I'd advise you to do this in your classes. The other one is an interactive activity. Remember that reading must not be just as a passive. Remember that reading must be an active process, all right? An active process where students can share their ideas, they could read together, they could analyze some activities or some strategies, all right? So, and this activity promotes this. So, what are we going to do? This type of activity is one that promotes the integration of two more skills since you read the paragraph. You talk to a classmate and you listen to what he or she has to say. As I told you before, when we talked about the reading lesson or the reading stages, it doesn't mean that we are going to use just the reading skill. Remember that it's impossible to separate the skills. No? So when I say reading lesson, means that we are going to use some activities more focused on develop the sub skills of reading, no, the micro skills of reading. But we can complement this by using other skills. No? As here you can see, one student talked to a classmate and the other student listened. So we are practicing here, apart from reading, we are practicing the speaking and listening skill too at the same time. You can ask students to have a conversation, notice, after they have finished a paragraph, so they can clear up any confusions they might have. Notice here, so that you give some time to read maybe a paragraph, so the students then, after having finished reading this paragraph, so you can ask the students to work together and discuss what does each person understand, no? What did they understand, so they can share their ideas. Notice this process of reading is more active and promotes, as here says on the first part, it promotes the integration of two or more skills in the process of reading, because they are going to talk, one of them is listening, and they interact. Okay, so I advise you to do this. It's also amusing for students, not just reading on their seats silently. No, it's an interaction process. The other one is related to another major sub skill in the reading skill. That is scanning. Scan a test for specific information. Notice here, you're going to scan a test for specific information. Scanning is reading a test quickly in order to find specific information. Notice the difference with skimming. Skimming is, again, to read quickly, but to find the main idea of the test. And this is the skimming, the main idea of the test. Scanning, you read the test quickly again, but now to find specific information, right? Some principal parts of the test. So notice here, for example, in our every daily life, we usually scan. For example, when you look for your favorite show list on a TV guide, when you look for your friend's phone number in your contact list, all right? So you are using scanning, okay? Or maybe you want to go to the movie theater. Well, nowadays we cannot do that, but when we could, so we went to the movie theater and look, okay, that movie is at 8 o'clock. All right, yeah. No, it's too early or too late. No, you look for another movie. Notice that you are scanning, all right? Here you are scanning because you are reading quickly to find some specific information. You want to see, for example, a movie. Okay, at what time is gonna be on? So, yeah, at 8. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna buy the tickets. So notice you are scanning because you're reading quickly. You are reading quickly the list of movies and the schedule, and you find your information and you got it. So this is scanning. Okay, when you read a test quickly in order to find some specific information. Now, another activity that we could do in a while reading stage is related to answer a short quiz. Now, this is more related to assessing, no? To assess if the students understood the test. No? You prepare a quiz. A traditional way to assess if the students have learned something from the reading. However, you can make a difference by using online tools to collect those answers. No, nowadays, we have different tools to create online quizzes. Here you have some of them, no? Plickers, Google Forms, or another tool of your choice. So we have many tools, digital tools. No? For example, in my own experience, I used most of the time the Google Forms. I prepare not just reading, I prepare listening, reading, writing, no? And the answers, as here says, you collect those answers immediately because you prepare the quiz, you give the correct answer, and the platform checks. No? Checks if the answer were right or wrong, and the platform gives you a report about the results. No, it's an important way to do a quiz about the reading, no? To check the reading comprehension. All right. So then, when we got to the last module, when we talk about the ICTs, we are going to talk about more about Google Forms, and I'm going to show you how to make quizzes, how to make tests or exams using Google Forms. There are another ones, the Plickers, or you can use Socrative. No, you have a lot of tools. Now, this is related to the while reading stage. Remember, while reading stage. Now, let's continue with the last stage, the post-reading stage. So here we're going to analyze some activities again to do in the classroom. But before, we're going to analyze some aspects of the post-reading stage. Post-reading activities help students understand tests further through critically analyzing what they have read, and these are carried out after you have implemented successfully pre-reading activities and while reading activities. So notice here, in the post-reading activities, we're going to get the knowledge of the test, the students' knowledge of the test, what they could understand about the test, and we are going to expand it. That's why here says understand the test further, all right? But they are going to expand their knowledge by analyzing critically what they have read, all right? But before doing this, you have to be accomplished. You have to accomplish the previous two stages, no? The pre-reading stage and a while reading stage. Now remember, pre-reading is to activate schemata. While reading is a deeper analysis of the text, the language, no? The formation of words, right? So the syntax, the structure of sentences, no? It's the analysis of the language. Post or after reading activities are helpful for several reasons. It helps the students use the newly learned words, okay, because the students are going to acquire some new words, all right? So Now, on this stage, they have the opportunity to use these new learned words. It promotes the use of the language in creative ways. So they have learned new words, they have learned some structure or checked some structure. Now, with this, they are going to create another test, maybe, or another kind of material. So they use the language in creative ways. Remember that post-reading activities are freer activities that tend to focus mainly in two skills. As I told you, here we're going to develop or we are going to practice two skills more. One of them is speaking and the other one is listening. So we're going to use these two skills in the post-reading activity. We also use it, if you notice, on a while reading stage. But here on the post-reading, we are going to use these two skills more. All right? The speaking and the listening skill. Okay? Now we're going to see some activities that we could do. Maybe you used some of them or maybe not. So here we're going to analyze some activities. The first activity is creative writing. Remember, in the post-reading stage, we are going to make our students to be creative with the knowledge, with the new words they got. So they are going to use this and create something. And here they are going to write something new. For example, ask students to use 10 to 15 words from the test. No, this is an advice. It's not necessary to be 10 to 15. It depends on you. You can provide categories for the words, the most interesting words, the most important words. Notice, first they choose some words from the test. Could be new, could be some that they knew. Then you're going to give some categories in order to classify the words. The most interesting words, you could say, no, choose the 10 most interesting words or the most important words in the test. Students then write a test using these words. No? That's why here it says creative. So they are going to create. No? Could be a story, a poem, or a news report. No? This is the creative writing. The next one, the second, is related to areas of interest. So we are going to ask our students to say which part of the test is the most important or is the most interesting and which part is not interesting or is not important, right? So they are going to discuss. Notice, they are going to discuss which part for them, according to their own opinion, is the most interesting or is the most important. Okay, so here's what the activity says: areas of interest. The third activity is creative discussions. So teacher is going to prepare 4 or 5 simple questions and ask students to talk about those questions for 3 minutes. And after that, ask one member of each pair to go and talk to another person of the group. Again, here we are promoting the interaction, the integration of the students. Not just reading, answer the questions. No, this is in a while reading stage. No, after this, so you can prepare some simple questions and ask the students to talk about these questions or those questions for 3 minutes. And then they are going to change. They are going to change groups, so they are going to change pairs and talk to another person of the other group, no? And start a discussion, right? Notice here that you expand, you make a critical analysis of the information that they receive in the test. The other activity that we could do is related to a previous one. Quiz your classmates. Remember that in the first one, quiz, the teacher prepared the quiz. The teacher prepares the quiz. Now, notice here, this activity can help us determine how much students learn during the reading. So, you are going to ask your students to prepare 5 questions about what they read. Once they have them ready, you can tell the students to make groups of 4 and then they can ask those questions to each other. So notice the difference with the previous quiz. In the previous activity, the teacher prepares the quiz. No? Could be on a worksheet or could be online, no? That we have seen before. Google Forms, Applicas. Now the students prepare the quiz, right? They prepare the quiz and we are going to make like a contest. No? You divide it into groups and one group read the questions to the other group and vice versa. No? So again, you're making your students interact each other, right? Not as a passive process, but as an active process. Activity number 5. Finding related news. What are we going to do now? After students have finished reading, they can browse on the internet for a news related to something they read. So here we are going to tell our students to search some information related to the topic they have read or they read, but on the internet. But what happens if they don't have the internet? Maybe the teacher can give more information. No? So you can say, okay, after reading, so I have here more information about a topic. And what are they going to do? For example, if they read something about moral and values, they can find examples of altruism on the web and they can share that information with their classmates. So, if they don't have the possibility to look for this information on the internet, so you can give the information to your students and then they are going to share that information with their classmates. No, this is new information, remember, after having finished the reading. So students have this new information and they share this new information related to the topic with their classmates. They can report the information they found orally or write some comments about it. You choose what kind of skills you want to practice. It is speaking, so they are going to report orally, or writing if they are going to write some comments about it. Then, the activity number 6, prepare a survey. So students can prepare a survey about information they just read. They can prepare questions and the survey in class and ask the survey to their classmates, or they can go home and bring the results and report them during next class. Notice here again that students are going to prepare the survey and relate it to the information they just read. Okay? And then they are going to ask each other. And finally, they are going to report these results, no? During or on the next class. So here you can create again, no? Similar to the quizzes, you can create again the surveys using different digital tools. No? You can use Google Form or Microsoft Form. No? So they can use their mobile devices as part of their learning. So they could use the mobile, their cell phones, their my phones, and they could answer immediately on their cell phones. And the students receive the results immediately too. The other activity is related to parts of a speech. Can you remember what is the parts of a speech? So we talked about this when we saw the morphology and syntax. Now remember, parts of a speech means the different types of words. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, and so on. So all of these words are called parts of a speech. Remember, parts of a speech, the different types of words. All right? So what are we going to ask our students to do? To spot the different parts of the speech from the reading. Then they quiz their classmate asking questions such as. So again, the interaction, The teacher doesn't ask, they ask each other. What type of word is, or how would you use that word in a sentence? Notice that you can divide it in pairs or in groups, no? And you can create like a contest. No? They love making a competition, so you can make your students compete each other, no? Who guesses or who identifies, no, which group identified the different types of words, no, and how can we use this word in a sentence. Now notice here you can create a competition. If you need to know more about the parts of speech, again here you we have seen this on the syntax, no, the different types of word, no, what is a noun, what is a verb, what is an adjective, and so on. So you can do this activity too. The other activity, activity number 8, is questions from pictures. So here teachers shows a collage as a student to look at the collage carefully and how some of the pictures relate to the reading they did. So here they have to create, and analyze collages. There are plenty here again. If you use the digital tools, there are different kinds of websites and apps that can help learners create a collage. So remember, collage is when you join some pictures, some images. So you don't have the possibility to do it digitally. They can do it, as we usually do, using pictures, so you can tell them to bring some magazines, newspapers, and then they are going to create their own collage, related to the reading that they read. The other one, activity number 9, is the character analysis. This is more specifically when we make them read a story, or a dialogue. Remember that here we can find characters. So there must be one or two characters involved. Analyze those characters and prepare a set of questions that you would like to make them. When all classmates have prepared their questions, ask them to give you their answers and then as a group try to answer the questions. Notice that they are going to analyze the characters of the story, or maybe the extract of a novel, or a soap opera, or maybe a conversation, a dialogue that they are going to read. So they are going to analyze the characters. They must answer some questions prepared by you, and then as a group you can check those answers or check this new information. Then we have this activity that is very common, using a graphic organizer. When we talk about graphic organizers, we can relate it to concept maps or mind maps, all right? So they are usually a one-page form with blank areas for learners to complete with ideas and information which are connected in some way. So how is it helpful to learners, to the readers? Because it helps convey large chunks of information concisely. Now remember the meaning of chunks. Chunks is a set of words, a group of words. So large group of words of information concisely. So they are going to summarize all the information that they receive using these graphic organizers. It encourages strategic thinking, describing, comparing, contrasting, classifying, sequencing, identifying cause and effect. Notice all the strategies that they are going to develop. They're going to describe something, compare and contrast something, classify something, give a sequence, or identify cause and effect, probable results, and etc. Notice that these kind of organizers help our students to develop a lot of strategies, thinking strategies. They are easy to use with all levels and all ages. We could use it from the beginner level to the advanced level, and then from a very little child to a young man, to an adult. So we could use it with all levels and with all ages. The other activity that we are going to talk is questioning the author of the book or story. Ask learners to prepare a set of questions that they will make to the author of the book or story. So they are going to analyze what is the purpose, what is the author reason to write this test. So they are going to create, no, they are going to create some questions that they would make to the author of the book or the story. The other activity, number 12, the end of the story. So here you are going to ask the students to change the end of the story. Changing the ending of a story to something unpredictable requires some thinking. So they are going to guess or imagine, different situations, different actions, and they are going to make up another ending. No, maybe the story has an ending, so they could create an alternative ending. All right. So this is another entertaining activity that they could do in class. And finally, this is the 13th activity, designing a poster to advertise the book. So this activity could easily link to the use of technology in the classroom. But here, remember, we could use also some physical material, no, in order to create a poster, cardboard, papers, no, markers, no, and so on. But nowadays we have the opportunity to do these posters online using digital tools. No, you can create posters with different platforms, different web pages. No, Pictochart. Here you have as an example Pictochart or Canva or Genially. No, there are different web pages that you can create posters, right? Or also the graphic organizers, no? You could use a lot of different tools to create this, no? But if you don't have this opportunity, so you could do it as we usually do, no? Using some cardboards, papers, colors, markers, pictures, no? You create your poster, all right? To advertise the book or the test that they are reading. Now, here we are going to talk about some web pages related to practice and to develop the reading skill in our students. One of them is the ESL Flow. Here you can find ESL reading lesson plans and teaching ideas, also lessons and exercises for reading students. The second one is the ESL Wonderland, containing reading activities such as time reading activities, questions. The remaining time appears in the status bar at the bottom of the window. So here you have some activities with time. So they have to do in the time that are asked. The ESL Galaxy offers printable PDF exercises to achieve reading comprehension. And the most popular type of these exercises is the test mazes that work like magic in teaching students how to read. No? So here you have these web pages. Another one is the CCFS, provides stories and readings on a wide variety of subjects for ESL students. Another one, 5-Minute English, contains links to reading comprehension quizzes and activities covering a wide variety of interesting topics. Primary School contains links to the reading games and activities online. EFL and ESL lessons and lesson plans offers teaching ideas for reading activities as well as links to readings and stories online. No? So here you have this web pages to practice more the reading comprehension or reading skill. Another one is the EL Civics. Here you can find worksheets. These worksheets includes a short paragraph about everyday problem a character can face, true or false exercise, a writing prompt, and a black and white image. These reading activities are presented in PDF format, and you should be able to download them quickly. No, this is not so heavy, so you can download them easily. Another one is the A4 ESL. So you can find here again resources, ESL or EFL teaching resources, containing links to reading comprehension activities and games. The links on this site have over 1,000 activities to help ESL students to do self-study. This is so important to promote in our students to self-study. The other one is American folklore. You can practice reading English with their ESL short stories from American folklore. Also, you read and also you familiarize with the culture of the USA. Retold by S.E. Scholzer, some short stories have an ESL listening component. So here you can listen and read at the same time. The other one is EnglishEnglish.com. Provides links to some of the best English quizzes, tests, exercises, and puzzles to help you improve your reading skills. Activities and quizzes range from difficulty from elementary up to advanced and contain a variety of activities. Some also contain audio versions of the story for you to listen to. Again, here you can combine two skills, no? Reading and listening. The other one is World English. Contains links to reading exercises and quizzes. The other, ESL Monkeys. You can learn English by using and reading news articles. Remember, news articles. Finding a wide range of reading material for almost any purpose. Activities are designed to build reading comprehension as well as to be vocabulary builders and conversation starters. Finally, we have these other two. Teach English in Asia provides ESL games to practice reading skills. And the last one, English Club, contains links to English short stories from classic literature to help improve your reading skills. Notice here that you have a lot of web pages that you can use. You can find resources such as worksheets, short stories, news, and also with listening. Also, they contain some worksheets related to exercises to develop the three stages, no? Pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading stage. So here you have all of these web pages, and there are more. So here you have some of them from my own and other from other teachers too, and you could use them, right? So notice that you have a lot of resources here. And you have a lot of resources related to the reading skill. Remember, and as I told you before, when we talk about reading lesson, it doesn't mean that you're going to make your student just read, and develop some exercises to um, analyze some sub skills of reading. No, you could use also other skills, no? In the pre and while and post, you could use listening, writing, or speaking, no? So you use this, but most of them you use the while and post reading stage, no? So don't forget, we're going to integrate skills, no? Doesn't mean that we're going to separate it. All right. So, well, that's all for today. So this is the last lesson related to teaching reading. Next class, we're going to continue with another skill, that is listening skill. Okay.